When you react, you hand over your power. Think about it. The world pushes you, insults you, provokes you, and without even realizing it, you let your emotions take control. You get angry when someone disrespects you. You panic when life becomes uncertain. You lose your focus because of words, opinions, and circumstances that were never in your control to begin with. This is why so many people remain trapped. They keep fighting battles that are not theirs, giving their energy to people and situations that don't deserve it. I tell you, the one who reacts is always the one who loses, because reaction means you are being controlled. But the one who stays calm, the one who chooses his response with discipline, becomes untouchable. That is where true power is born, not in striking harder or speaking louder, but in mastering yourself so completely that no insult, no challenge, no chaos can move you from your center. If you want to win in life, you must stop reacting blindly and start mastering the art of self-control. 1. Control your inner fire before it burns you. Inside every human being lives a fire, and this fire takes many forms. It can appear as anger when you feel disrespected, as fear when you face the unknown, as pride when your ego swells beyond its limits, or even as desire when you crave something too strongly. This fire is powerful. It is the very energy that fuels our actions, our decisions, and even our dreams. But like any fire, it must be handled with care. Left unchecked, it can rage out of control and burn everything in its path, including you. Many people live their entire lives without ever learning to control this fire. They allow their anger to dictate their words, their fear to dictate their choices, and their pride to dictate their relationships. They react instantly to every spark, and in doing so, they become slaves to their emotions. Think about it. How many times have you said something in anger that you later regretted? How many times have you made a decision out of fear and then realized you missed an opportunity? How many times has your pride stopped you from admitting you were wrong, from learning, or from growing? This is what happens when the fire inside is left unguarded. It consumes your peace, it blinds your judgment, and it weakens your spirit. You lash out when provoked, trembling not because of the other person's strength, but because you are a prisoner of your own energy. The man who cannot control his fire is not free. He is chained to every emotion that rises within him, and he becomes easy to manipulate, easy to defeat, and easy to break. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine a warrior who understands the fire within him. When anger rises, he does not explode. When fear strikes, he does not freeze. When pride swells, he does not let it cloud his wisdom. Instead, he watches his emotions like a master observing the flame of a candle. He contains it. He breathes. He waits. He understands that fire can be destructive, but it can also be the very force that keeps him alive, warm, and strong. He knows how to channel it, how to take the heat of anger and forge it into determination, how to take the tension of fear and transform it into alertness, how to take the swell of pride and refine it into confidence. In combat, this mastery of fire is the difference between victory and defeat. Picture yourself facing an opponent. He throws a strike at you, and your instinct is to react instantly with wild aggression. If you do, you leave yourself exposed, your energy scattered, and your body unbalanced. That reaction is not strength, it is weakness disguised as power. But if you breathe, if you calm the flame inside, if you allow the fire to heat you without burning you, then you can wait for the perfect opening. When you strike in that moment, your blow is not wasted. It is precise, unstoppable, and effective. Life outside the ring is no different. Challenges will come, insults will come, fear will come. The world will always try to ignite your fire. If you let it control you, you will burn bridges, destroy relationships, lose opportunities, and harm yourself. But if you learn to master that fire, you will find that it becomes your greatest strength. Anger, when mastered, becomes fuel for persistence. Fear, when understood, becomes awareness and caution. Pride, when disciplined, becomes quiet confidence. Desire, when balanced, becomes motivation for growth. The truth is simple. Your inner fire is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is your energy. But if you do not master it, it will master you, and you will live a life constantly burning, constantly reacting, constantly being consumed. The art of self-control begins here, with the discipline to recognize the fire inside, to tame it, to channel it, and to make it serve you instead of destroy you. Only then will you be free. 2. Reaction is a trap. Action is freedom. Reaction is one of the greatest traps a human being can fall into because it feels natural, it feels automatic, and it feels powerful in the moment. Someone insults you, and immediately your pride pushes you to respond with anger. Someone challenges you, and you feel the need to prove yourself instantly. Someone offends you, and your tongue fires back before your mind has a chance to intervene. This is what most people call being real or being strong, but in truth, it is weakness in disguise. Why? Because when you react, you are not in control. You are being controlled. The person who provoked you now owns you because your behavior is no longer your choice. It is their command. Understand this clearly. The one who can make you react is the one who has power over you. If a simple insult can throw you into rage, then you are a puppet pulled by strings, and those strings are tied to your emotions. It does not matter how physically strong you are, how much knowledge you have, or how skilled you may be. If your emotions can be played like an instrument, you are not the master, you are the slave. This is why most people live in cycles of conflict, regret, and wasted energy, because they never see that their reactions are traps carefully laid by others or by their own unchecked impulses. Action, on the other hand, is entirely different. Action is freedom because it is conscious, it is chosen, and it is deliberate. When you act instead of react, you are no longer controlled by someone else's words or behavior. You are guided by your own principles. In a fight, the opponent who reacts blindly to every feint, every shout, every move is predictable, and predictability is weakness. You can easily defeat him because you already know where he will go. But the fighter who does not fall into reaction, the one who stays calm, waits, and chooses his moment, he is dangerous. Because his action comes from clarity and intention. He is not wasting movements, not wasting energy, not being manipulated. Think of life the same way. Imagine someone insults you in public. The reactive man explodes, shouts, maybe even throws a punch, and later he faces regret, shame, or punishment. The man of action, however, pauses, assesses the situation, and chooses what benefits him most. Sometimes that may mean silence. Sometimes it may mean a calm but firm response. Sometimes it may mean walking away entirely. The difference is not in what he does. It is in how he decides. His choices come from awareness, not from compulsion. That is freedom. When you begin to live by action instead of reaction, you break free from the chains of ego and emotion. You are no longer at the mercy of insults, moods, or provocations. You begin to respond only when necessary and in the way that serves your higher goals. This is not weakness, this is mastery. Weakness is being tossed around by every emotion. Strength is the ability to remain rooted when the storm tries to shake you. But make no mistake, choosing action over reaction is not easy. It requires discipline, awareness, and practice. It requires you to catch yourself in the heat of the moment, to recognize when you are being pulled into a trap, and to remind yourself that you have the power to choose differently. At first, you may fail, you may still react, but every time you succeed in pausing and choosing action instead, you will grow stronger, freer, and more in control of your life. So remember this truth: reaction is slavery, action is freedom. Do not live as a puppet to your impulses or to the provocations of others. Take back the strings. Move with awareness, with patience, and with purpose. Let your actions be chosen, not stolen. This is the way of the warrior, the path of self-mastery, and the foundation of victory both in battle and in life. 3. the strongest opponent is always within. When most people think of an enemy, they picture someone outside of themselves, an opponent standing across from them in the ring, a rival at work competing for the same opportunity, a person who insults them, or even life itself when it throws challenges their way. But here is the truth many never realize. The greatest and most dangerous opponent you will ever face does not live outside of you. It lives inside of you. It is your anger, your fear, your doubt, your ego, and your lack of discipline. This opponent is silent, invisible, and relentless. And if you do not confront it, it will defeat you long before any external challenge has the chance. Think of the man who enters a fight with uncontrolled rage. He may look terrifying, his face red, his fists clenched, his voice loud, but beneath the surface, he is already half defeated. Why? Because his anger clouds his vision. He is no longer seeing openings clearly, no longer conserving his energy, no longer aware of his opponent's strategy. His fury makes him predictable, and predictability makes him weak. His true defeat does not come from the punch that lands on his chin, but from the fire inside his chest that he failed to master. The same truth applies outside of combat. How many people have destroyed opportunities, not because the world was against them, but because they allowed fear to paralyze them? Fear whispered that they weren't ready, that they weren't strong enough, and they listened. How many people have ruined relationships not because of what others did, but because their own pride stopped them from apologizing, forgiving, or showing humility? How many dreams have been abandoned, not because they were impossible, but because doubt suffocated the courage needed to pursue them? This is the inner opponent at work, and it is far more dangerous than anything external. You see, when the battle is outside, you can prepare. You can train for the opponent you see, study their moves, and anticipate their attack. But when the battle is inside, it is constant. Your anger does not wait for the right time to strike. It erupts in the middle of conversations, arguments, and moments when you most need clarity. Your ego does not announce itself politely. It slips into your thoughts, convincing you that you already know everything, making you blind to growth. Your fear does not knock on the door. It ambushes you when opportunity comes, freezing you before you can act. The inner opponent fights dirty, fights silently, and fights daily. But here is the good news. If you can master the enemy within, no enemy outside can ever conquer you. A man who has tamed his anger cannot be provoked. A man who has faced his fear cannot be intimidated. A man who has silenced his doubt cannot be manipulated. A man who has humbled his ego cannot be broken by failure, because he knows how to learn and rise again. The external world becomes much smaller once the inner world is brought under control. So how do you face this opponent? Not by suppressing it, because suppressed emotions only grow stronger in the dark. Not by denying it, because denial blinds you to its power. You face it by awareness, by learning to recognize when anger is rising and choosing not to let it control you. By noticing fear creeping into your thoughts and using it as a signal to prepare rather than to retreat. By catching pride when it swells and reminding yourself that true strength is not arrogance, but humility. By seeing doubt for what it is, a shadow, not reality, and walking forward anyway. Remember, your greatest victories in life will not be the trophies you win, the people you defeat, or the challenges you overcome. Your greatest victories will be the times you conquered yourself, when you chose discipline over anger, courage over fear, humility over pride, and persistence over doubt. This is what true mastery is about. The strongest opponent is always within, but if you defeat him, you will never again fear any enemy outside of you. 4. Silence is the greatest counterattack. Most people are convinced that strength must always be loud, that victory comes from shouting the last word in an argument. or from proving themselves in front of others with noise, aggression, and constant replies. But what I have learned, both in combat and in life, is that silence is often the sharpest weapon, the strongest counterattack, and the truest sign of mastery. Silence does not mean weakness. Silence does not mean surrender. Silence means control. Silence means you are no longer wasting your power on battles that do not matter. Silence means you have chosen to hold your strength until the exact moment it will create the greatest impact. When someone insults you, their intention is simple. They want to pull you into their storm. They want to see your anger, to feel your reaction, to make you prove something. The average person falls into this trap every time, immediately firing back with words or actions that only reveal their lack of control. But when you remain silent, when you do not give them the reaction they crave, you take away their power, you confuse them, you disturb them. They expect your rage, and when it does not come, it unsettles them more deeply than any insult could. Your silence becomes louder than any word. Think about combat, the loud, reckless fighter who screams, who shows his fury, who wastes his breath on intimidation. He may look strong, but he is giving away his energy before the fight has even begun. The silent fighter, however, unnerves his opponent. He does not waste energy on noise. He does not reveal his thoughts. He conserves his strength, watches carefully, and waits for the right moment. His silence is not emptiness, it is a strategy. Every second he remains calm is another second his opponent grows anxious, uncertain, and reckless. Life reflects the same truth. You will face situations where people try to provoke you with words, challenges, or unfair behavior. If you respond immediately with anger or argument, you are stepping onto their battlefield, fighting on their terms. But if you remain silent, you shift the balance of power. Your silence says, "You cannot control me. Your words cannot touch me. I decide how I use my energy." This is the kind of silence that strengthens you and weakens them. Do not mistake silence for passivity. Silence is not about never speaking, never acting, or never defending yourself. It is about knowing when your words are wasted and when your silence has more impact. Sometimes, speaking less makes your words strike deeper when you finally choose to use them. Sometimes, refusing to respond protects your peace, your dignity, and your focus. In a world full of noise, silence becomes a weapon because it is rare, it is powerful, and it demands attention. Silence also trains your own mind. When you hold back a reaction, you teach yourself patience. You learn to observe instead of rushing blindly. You begin to understand that not everything needs your response, that not every battle deserves your time. Silence allows you to see more clearly because while others are tangled in the noise of reaction, you are listening, watching, and conserving your energy for what truly matters. Remember this: a person who reacts loudly to every insult, every criticism, every challenge is not strong. They are fragile because anyone can shake them. But a person who can sit in silence, calm and unbothered, even when provoked, is untouchable. Their silence is not emptiness, it is a shield. Their silence is not avoidance, it is discipline. And their silence is not weakness, it is a counterattack that cuts deeper than words. So do not always rush to defend yourself, to explain yourself, or to fight back with noise. Sometimes the greatest strike is no strike at all. Sometimes the loudest voice is the one that remains silent. Master this art, and you will find that silence itself becomes a weapon more powerful than any reaction you could ever give. 5. Your energy is your greatest weapon. Everything you do in life is fueled by energy. Your thoughts, your movements, your words, your emotions, all of them require energy. And unlike what many people believe, your energy is not infinite. It is like water stored in a vessel. Each day you wake up with a certain amount of it, and how you use it determines the quality of your life and the results you achieve. Some people waste their energy endlessly. reacting to every distraction, every insult, every small inconvenience. By the time they truly need their strength, they are already empty, drained, and powerless. Others, however, treat their energy like a sacred treasure. They protect it, they conserve it, they channel it with precision, and because of this, they are able to achieve far more with less effort, because their energy is never scattered, it is focused. When you react emotionally to every little thing, you are leaking energy. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You explode with anger. A person insults you. You waste your breath shouting back. A minor obstacle appears. You stress and panic, pouring out your mental strength over something that does not even matter in the long run. This is the life of a man who does not understand the value of his energy. He spends it recklessly, as though he has an endless supply, and then he wonders why he feels weak, tired, and defeated when true challenges arrive. His strength is not gone because life is too hard. It is gone because he wasted it on battles that were never worth fighting. A wise man knows better. He understands that his energy is his greatest weapon, and like any great weapon, it must be sharpened, guarded, and used with care. In martial arts, this truth becomes clear very quickly. The fighter who throws wild punches and kicks in the first few minutes of a match might look fierce at the start, but soon he is gasping for air, his strikes slower, his guard weaker. He wasted his energy showing off his rage, and now he has nothing left when it truly matters. But the disciplined fighter, he conserves his movements. He does not strike unless it has purpose. He does not waste his breath on shouting. He studies, he breathes, he waits. And when he finally unleashes his energy, it is devastating because it is focused. He uses less, but achieves more. Life is not different. If you waste your energy on arguments that lead nowhere, on proving yourself to people who don't care, on chasing distractions that add no value to your growth, you will always feel tired and unfulfilled. You will walk through life drained, not because you lacked strength, but because you gave it away freely to things that never deserved it. But when you learn to guard your energy, when you stop reacting to everything around you, you begin to notice a transformation. You feel calmer, you feel stronger, you have more to give to the goals, the people, and the challenges that truly matter. Protecting your energy also means protecting your focus. Energy and attention are connected. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. If your focus is scattered on every small annoyance, your energy is scattered as well. But when you discipline your mind to focus only on what aligns with your growth, your energy gathers like a river flowing into a single point. That is when it becomes unstoppable. This is why self-control is not just about suppressing emotions. It is about guarding the flow of your energy so that it is not wasted on impulses, but directed toward purpose. Understand this clearly. Your energy is your life force. Spend it wisely, and it will lift you to greatness. Waste it recklessly, and you will always feel like you are running uphill, tired and defeated. The world will always try to provoke you, to draw your energy into useless battles. Do not fall for it. The man who masters his energy is not moved by insults, not shaken by small problems, not distracted by noise. He holds his energy close, uses it with precision, and when the moment comes to act, he is unstoppable because his strength is intact, while others have already exhausted themselves. So guard your energy as if it is gold, because in truth it is worth more than gold. Once lost, it cannot be reclaimed. Do not let anger steal it. Do not let fear drain it. Do not let pride scatter it. Use it only for what matters, and you will find that your energy becomes a blade so sharp that no obstacle can withstand it. Remember, your energy is your greatest weapon, and your mastery of it decides whether you live as a slave to your impulses or as a master of your destiny. 6. Learn the pause, the space between stimulus and response. Life is full of events you cannot predict and situations you cannot control. Someone will insult you when you least expect it. A challenge will suddenly appear in your path. Fear will grip your chest without warning. This is the nature of existence. The world will always bring you things that disturb your peace. But the real question is not what happens to you. The real question is what you choose to do when it happens. And this is where most people fail, because they do not recognize that there is always a small but powerful moment, a space between stimulus and response. The average person does not see this space. Something happens and they instantly react. They are insulted and they immediately fight back with anger. They are frightened and they immediately retreat. They are challenged and they immediately panic. Their life becomes nothing more than a chain of reactions, one after another, until they are not living with awareness at all. They are only being pushed around by the world like a leaf carried by the wind. This is not mastery. This is slavery to impulses. But the disciplined man, the one who has trained his mind as well as his body, learns to see this hidden space. He understands that between the thing that happens and his response to it, there is always a pause, no matter how small. And in that pause lies his greatest power. The pause is where freedom exists. The pause is where you can breathe, where you can think, where you can choose. The pause transforms a reaction into an action, an impulse into a decision, and a weakness into strength. In combat, this principle becomes obvious. An opponent strikes, and if you react without thought, you are trapped. You move exactly as he wants. You open yourself to his next attack. You waste energy in panic. But if you can pause, even for the briefest instant, you can see more clearly. You can observe his movement, read his intention, and act not with fear, but with precision. That tiny pause can mean the difference between being knocked down and seizing victory. The same principle applies outside the fight, in daily life. Imagine you are at work and someone criticizes you unfairly in front of others. Your first instinct is to react with anger, to defend yourself loudly. But if you pause just for a moment, you gain control. You realize that shouting back may only make you look weaker, not stronger. You understand that remaining calm, responding with measured words, or even walking away entirely might actually give you more power. That one pause transforms the situation completely. The pause is not hesitation. It is not weakness. It is awareness. It is discipline. It is strength. To pause does not mean you do nothing. It means you choose to act instead of being dragged into reaction. It means you are the master of your emotions, not their servant. It means you decide how your energy is spent instead of letting others dictate it. But learning to pause is not easy. It requires practice, just as you would train a muscle. In the beginning, your impulses will still win. You will still find yourself reacting before you realize it. But if you continue to practice awareness, if you continue to remind yourself to breathe before you respond, to think before you speak, to watch before you strike, the pause will become more natural. With time, you will discover that you no longer live as a puppet controlled by outside events, but as a warrior who chooses his every move. Think of the pause as the sharpening of a sword. The sharper the blade, the fewer strikes are needed. The stronger your pause, the fewer mistakes you will make. The pause gives you clarity when the world tries to cloud your vision, patience when chaos pushes you to rush, and calmness when fear tries to paralyze you. It is the invisible strength that separates the undisciplined from the master, the ordinary man from the one who truly controls his destiny. Remember this, there will always be a space between what happens to you and what you do next. Most people waste that space by reacting blindly, but the man who learns to see it, to use it, and to act from it, he becomes unstoppable. Because no matter what life throws at him, he always has the power to choose his response, and that power, once mastered, is the essence of freedom. 7. Self-control is the true path to victory. Victory. Everyone chases it. Some believe victory means defeating an opponent in a ring. Others believe victory is about making more money, gaining more recognition, or proving to the world that they are better, faster, or stronger than others. But I tell you this, the greatest victory you will ever achieve has nothing to do with beating someone else. It has nothing to do with applause, medals, or trophies. True victory is not external. True victory is internal. It is not about conquering others. It is about conquering yourself. And the foundation of this victory is self-control. What does self-control truly mean? Many think it is suppression, a kind of forced resistance against one's emotions or desires. But suppression is not mastery. It is only hiding. If you suppress anger without understanding it, it will return stronger the next time. If you suppress fear without facing it, it will continue to haunt you. Self-control is not about burying your emotions. It is about mastering them. It is about standing face to face with your impulses and saying, "You will not control me. I will control you." In the heat of combat, you will see why self-control is everything. The fighter who loses himself in rage may throw powerful strikes, but his energy will scatter, his technique will weaken, and his vision will cloud. He may look fierce, but his fury is a weakness. On the other hand, the fighter who remains calm, who refuses to let anger dictate his moves, is far more dangerous. Every strike he throws is chosen, precise, and calculated. He wastes nothing. His calmness unsettles his opponent because his power is not on display. It is contained, waiting, ready to explode with purpose. This is self-control in motion, and it is the essence of victory. Now carry this lesson into life. How many people lose their careers? Not because they lacked talent, but because they could not control their tempers. How many families have been broken? Not because love was absent, but because people could not control their pride, their jealousy, or their words in moments of anger. How many opportunities are lost, not because someone was unworthy, but because they allowed fear to control them instead of acting with courage. You see, the real defeats of life rarely come from outside forces. They come from within, from a lack of self-control. Victory begins when you understand that you cannot always control what happens around you, but you can always control what happens within you. You cannot prevent people from insulting you, but you can control whether you let their words poison your peace. You cannot stop fear from appearing, but you can control whether you allow it to freeze you or whether you use it as a reminder to prepare more carefully. You cannot avoid every failure, but you can control whether you let failure destroy you or whether you use it as fuel to rise stronger. This is why self-control is the true path to victory, because it gives you power over the one thing that truly belongs to you, yourself. But let me be clear, self-control is not easy. It is a lifelong discipline. It is tested every day in small moments and big ones. It is tested when someone insults you and you want to lash out. It is tested when you face failure and want to give up. It is tested when you are tempted by distractions that pull you away from your path. Every day, the world will give you opportunities to lose control. Every day, your inner fire will try to rise and rule over you. And every day you must choose discipline, you must choose mastery, you must choose victory over yourself. How do you develop this mastery? The first step is awareness. You cannot control what you do not see. Begin by observing your emotions as they rise. When you feel anger boiling in your chest, don't immediately act on it. Notice it, watch it, ask yourself, if I give my energy to this, what will it cost me? The same with fear. When it appears, instead of fleeing from it, recognize it. Understand that fear is only a signal, not a master. When pride swells inside you, catch it. Remind yourself that humility is strength and arrogance is weakness. This constant awareness is the foundation of self-control. The second step is discipline in practice. Self-control is like a muscle. It grows stronger the more you train it. At first, it will feel difficult. You may still react. You may still lose your temper, still let fear dictate your choices. But every time you succeed in pausing, in choosing patience instead of anger, courage instead of fear, humility instead of pride, you strengthen your ability to control yourself. With time, your control becomes natural, like the movements of a well-trained fighter whose body knows exactly what to do without thought. The third step is purpose. Self-control cannot exist without a clear purpose, because without purpose, you will always waste your energy on what does not matter. Ask yourself, what am I trying to build? What kind of life am I creating? What kind of person am I becoming? When your purpose is strong, self-control becomes easier because you realize that not every battle deserves your attention. Not every reaction deserves your energy. Your purpose acts as a filter, guiding your choices, reminding you what is worth fighting for and what is better left behind. The world is full of men who appear strong on the outside, but are slaves on the inside. They are controlled by anger, enslaved by pride, dominated by fear, and distracted by desire. They may win small battles, but they never achieve true victory because they cannot even conquer themselves. Do not be one of them. True strength is not shown by how many people you can defeat, but by how disciplined you are when no one is watching. True victory is not in applause or recognition, but in the quiet control of your own mind and actions. Imagine living with this mastery. Imagine walking through life unshaken by insults, calm in the face of challenges, patient in the middle of chaos, and unbroken by failure. Imagine being untouchable, not because the world has stopped testing you, but because you no longer hand over your power to the world. This is freedom. This is victory, and it comes only from self-control. So understand this clearly. The world will always test you. People will try to provoke you. Situations will try to shake you. Your own inner storms will try to overwhelm you, but none of these have power over you unless you give it to them. Self-control is the shield that protects you and the sword that makes your strikes precise. It is the foundation of peace and the path to true victory. Master it, and you master yourself. Master yourself, and you will find that no enemy, inside or outside, can ever defeat you again. 8. Master the discipline of emotional alchemy, turning chaos into strength. Every man and woman alive will face storms within themselves. Life is not gentle. It will stir your emotions, it will test your limits, and it will awaken within you feelings so intense that you believe you have no choice but to react. Anger when betrayed, fear when cornered, sadness when faced with loss, frustration when goals slip away. For most people, these emotions are like chains. They pull, they twist, they tighten until there is no room left to breathe. And so they explode outward in reactions they later regret, or they collapse inward in silence that eats them alive. But what separates the ordinary man from the master, the reactive from the controlled, is the ability to transform emotions instead of being consumed by them. This is what I call emotional alchemy, the discipline of turning the raw chaos inside you into strength, clarity, and forward motion. Think of fire again, because fire is the perfect teacher. Fire can destroy, but it can also forge. In its heat, metal bends and becomes a blade. In its warmth, the body survives the cold. In its flame, food becomes nourishment. Fire itself is not good or bad, it is neutral. It becomes what you make of it. Your emotions are the same. Anger, left uncontrolled, destroys you and those around you. But anger transformed becomes focus, persistence, and courage. Fear, left unchecked, freezes you and robs you of opportunity. But fear transformed becomes awareness, caution, and preparation. Even sadness, when carried properly, can soften your heart and teach you compassion. The power is not in the emotion itself. The power lies in how you discipline yourself to use it. Most people fail to see this because they believe emotions are commands. Anger tells them, shout back, hit harder, prove yourself now. Fear tells them, run away, hide, avoid risk. Sadness tells them, give up, nothing matters anymore. They obey these voices without question, never realizing that they are not orders, they are signals. and signals can be read, understood, and redirected. The man who reacts blindly is a servant to his emotions. The man who observes, who pauses, who chooses, he is the alchemist. He takes the raw material of his emotions and transforms it into something useful. In martial arts, this principle is critical. If fear grips you before a fight, you have two choices. You can allow that fear to freeze you, to weaken your movements, to make you hesitate until defeat is inevitable. Or you can transform that fear into heightened awareness. You can let it sharpen your senses, quicken your reflexes, and remind you to be precise. Anger, too, can destroy a fighter. Rage makes you reckless, but if you channel that energy, it gives you speed, endurance, and intensity. The disciplined fighter is not one who feels nothing. He feels everything, but he chooses what to do with it. He does not suppress emotion, he refines it, like a craftsman shaping rough stone into a weapon. In life, emotional alchemy works the same way. Consider the man who is insulted at work. If he reacts in anger, shouting, defending himself loudly, he loses respect, wastes energy, and creates enemies. But if he takes that anger, holds it, and channels it into discipline, working harder, improving himself, sharpening his skills, he transforms humiliation into motivation. The insult becomes fuel for greatness. Consider the woman who faces failure. If she reacts with despair, she may quit, believing she is unworthy. But if she chooses to transform that pain, it becomes resilience. It teaches her to rise, to improve, to persevere with more wisdom than before. Failure in this way is not the end. It is the fire that forges strength. But make no mistake, emotional alchemy requires immense discipline. It is easy to let your emotions use you. It is hard to use your emotions. To do this, you must constantly practice awareness. When anger rises, pause and ask, how can I use this energy instead of wasting it? When fear appears, ask, what is this teaching me? What must I prepare for? When sadness grips you, ask, what compassion or wisdom can I learn here? Each question turns the raw fire into a tool, and over time, this practice makes you powerful beyond measure, not because you no longer feel, but because you feel deeply and yet remain in command. Do not misunderstand. This is not about pretending to be cold or emotionless. Emotions are part of being human. To live without them would be to live as stone. What makes you human is that you can feel the fire inside and still choose what to do with it. This is the heart of mastery, not to erase your humanity, but to direct it toward greatness. People who boast that they speak their mind or do whatever they feel are not strong. They are weak because anyone can trigger them and make them lose control. True strength is quiet, steady, disciplined. True strength is feeling the chaos within and using it as fuel instead of letting it burn you alive. Imagine living this way. Imagine walking into challenges not as a prisoner of your emotions, but as their master. Fear becomes your advisor, whispering where to be cautious, but never stopping your steps. Anger becomes your fuel, burning away laziness and weakness, but never clouding your mind. Sadness becomes your teacher, deepening your compassion without drowning you. Pride becomes confidence, driving you to excel without blinding you to humility. In this way, every storm you face becomes energy for your journey. Every emotion becomes a source of strength, and every challenge becomes an opportunity to practice transformation. This is why I say self-control is not about suppressing or denying emotions. It is about mastering the art of emotional alchemy, because life will never stop testing you. You cannot avoid the sparks that ignite anger, the shadows that awaken fear, or the losses that bring grief. But you can always decide how you respond. You can choose to waste your emotions in blind reactions, or you can choose to refine them into discipline, into clarity, into action. The first path makes you a victim of yourself. The second path makes you a master of yourself. And mastery of self is the greatest victory you will ever achieve. So remember this: emotions are not your enemy. They are your raw power. But raw power without discipline is destruction. Discipline transforms raw power into greatness. Practice this daily, in every argument, every challenge, every failure. Practice transforming chaos into strength. This is emotional alchemy. This is the art of using your fire instead of being consumed by it. This is the true mark of mastery and the path of those who refuse to be ordinary. 9. Discipline is freedom, mastering yourself to master life. Many people misunderstand the word discipline. They think discipline is restriction, a kind of prison that robs you of freedom. They think it means rules, boundaries, and limitations that stop you from living as you want. This is why so many resist it, believing that true freedom is doing whatever you feel, whenever you feel it. But this is an illusion. That is not freedom. That is slavery. When you obey every emotion, every impulse, every distraction, you are not free at all. You are a servant to your moods, a puppet pulled by invisible strings, a prisoner in chains you cannot even see. True freedom does not come from doing whatever you want. True freedom comes from discipline. Think of the man who cannot control his anger. At the slightest insult, he explodes. He believes he is free because he speaks his mind, because he doesn't hold back. But in truth, he is chained. Anyone who knows how to provoke him owns him completely. One word from another man, one action, and he loses himself. That is not freedom. That is weakness. Now think of the man who controls his anger. He hears the same insult, feels the same fire rising inside, but he pauses, he breathes, he chooses. He is not moved by another's words. He is free because no one controls him. His discipline has given him power, and his power has given him freedom. Discipline is freedom because it is the ability to choose your actions instead of being dragged by your reactions. When you live without discipline, you are a slave to comfort. You eat whatever you crave, sleep whenever you feel tired, waste time whenever distractions call to you. You think you are free because you follow your desires, but slowly you weaken. Your body becomes heavy, your mind becomes dull, your spirit becomes restless. You are trapped by habits that drain you. The man who lives by discipline may rise earlier, train harder, work longer. To outsiders, it looks like sacrifice, but in truth, it is liberation. His body is strong, his mind is sharp, his spirit is clear. He is not chained by weakness because discipline has freed him from it. In combat, the difference is obvious. The undisciplined fighter may have strength, but he lacks endurance. He may throw wild punches, but he lacks precision. He wastes energy showing off, shouting, or reacting until he is exhausted. His freedom to fight how he wants leads him to defeat. But the disciplined fighter trains daily, repeats movements until they are perfect, controls his energy, controls his breathing. To others, his life looks restricted. They do not see the hours of practice, the sweat, the sacrifices. But when he enters the fight, his discipline becomes freedom. He moves without hesitation, strikes with precision, flows like water because he has already trained his body and mind to obey him completely. He is free because he has mastered himself. Now carry this truth into daily life. The student who studies only when he feels like it will never master his subject. He may believe he is free by avoiding work, but in the end, he is chained by ignorance and failure. The disciplined student, however, studies daily, whether he feels like it or not. Over time, knowledge becomes his power, and that power opens doors to opportunities others will never see. The worker who spends his money recklessly may enjoy short bursts of pleasure, but soon he is trapped by debt, by worry, by poverty. He believed freedom was spending without thought, but in truth, he enslaved himself. The disciplined man who saves, invests, and controls his spending may seem restricted, but in time, he gains financial freedom, the ability to live without fear of tomorrow. Discipline in relationships works the same way. The man or woman who reacts to every temptation, who follows every desire, may believe they are free to love however they want. But in truth, they create chaos, pain, and regret. They are not free. They are prisoners of desire. The disciplined person who remains faithful, who chooses love with commitment and care, may seem limited to outsiders, but in truth, they live in peace, trust, and stability. Their discipline has built freedom from jealousy, regret, and heartbreak. Discipline is also the key to mastering your mind. Without it, your thoughts wander endlessly. You scroll through distractions, you procrastinate on important tasks, you drown in noise. You believe you are free because you can think whatever you want, but in reality, you are trapped by the chaos of your own mind. The disciplined person trains focus. He chooses where his attention goes. He practices meditation, study, stillness. To others, it may look boring or restrictive, but in reality, he is free because he can direct his mind like a sword, cutting through distractions and focusing on what matters most. Do you see the pattern? Without discipline, life feels like freedom at first, but soon it becomes chaos, weakness, and regret. With discipline, life feels difficult at first, but soon it becomes strength, clarity, and peace. Discipline is the price of freedom, and every master has paid it. The man who refuses discipline is always at the mercy of something: his emotions, his desires, his laziness, his fears. The man who embraces discipline controls them all. Understand this: discipline does not make life harder. Lack of discipline makes life harder. Discipline makes life easier because it removes chaos. It gives structure, clarity, and purpose. Discipline turns your energy into power, your time into achievement, your emotions into strength. It frees you from the prison of impulses and opens the door to mastery. So when you hear the word discipline, do not think of chains. Think of wings. The chains are already there, binding you through your lack of control. Discipline is the key that breaks those chains. It is the art of freedom. When you master yourself, you master life. And when you master life, you discover the greatest truth of all. Discipline is not sacrifice. Discipline is freedom. 10. The calm mind is the ultimate weapon. Power is often misunderstood. People think power is about strength, speed, or dominance. They imagine that the loudest voice in the room has the most authority, or that the man who strikes the hardest in combat is the most dangerous. But true power is none of these. True power is calmness. The calm mind is the ultimate weapon because it cannot be shaken, cannot be provoked, and cannot be defeated. A storm may rage outside, but if you remain calm inside, you are untouchable. Think of water. It can be soft, flowing gently in a stream, reflecting the sky with perfect stillness. Yet that same water can carve mountains, shape valleys, and crush stone with its force. The secret of water is that it is calm until it chooses to act. This is what the mind must be: still, clear, unmoved by every passing disturbance, yet ready to unleash unstoppable force when the moment is right. A fighter with a calm mind is dangerous because he sees everything. He is not blinded by fear, not clouded by anger, not distracted by pride. His movements are deliberate, his strikes precise, his energy preserved. He is not wasting himself on reaction. He is directing himself with purpose. Now consider the opposite. The man who enters combat with a restless mind, full of anger or panic, is already defeated. His heart races uncontrollably. His breath is shallow, his vision narrow. He reacts wildly, striking without thought, exposing himself to danger. He may look fierce, but inside he is broken because he has no control. His greatest enemy is not the opponent before him, it is his own restless mind. This truth is not only for combat. Life is its own battlefield, and the calm mind wins here too. Imagine being in an argument. One person shouts, their face red with anger, their words spilling without control. The other remains calm, steady, deliberate. Who has the power? It is not the loud one. It is the one who controls himself, who speaks little but makes every word count. The calm person unsettles the storm around them because they cannot be dragged into chaos. Calmness is not weakness. Calmness is control. It is the ability to remain steady while the world shakes. It is the discipline to wait when others rush, to breathe when others panic, to act when others collapse. Calmness allows you to see clearly in the fog of conflict. When your mind is calm, you can judge situations with clarity, make decisions with wisdom, and act with precision. This is why the calm mind is the ultimate weapon. It does not waste energy on unnecessary reactions. It focuses only on what matters, and it cannot be manipulated by external forces. Consider fear. When fear arises, the restless mind reacts by fleeing or freezing, but the calm mind sees fear as information, a signal to prepare, a reminder to sharpen awareness. Fear does not control the calm mind, it becomes fuel for readiness. Consider anger. When insulted, the restless mind reacts instantly with rage, throwing words or fists that lead to regret. But the calm mind absorbs the insult, studies the intention behind it, and chooses whether to respond or not. Often, silence or a measured reply cuts deeper than any outburst. In this way, the calm mind turns every challenge into an opportunity for mastery. Calmness also protects your energy. A restless mind wastes energy endlessly on worry, on anger, on fear, on small distractions. By the end of the day, it is drained, exhausted, and unfulfilled. The calm mind, however, conserves energy. It does not chase every thought, does not react to every event. It gathers energy like water in a still lake, powerful and deep. And when it chooses to release that energy, it flows with unstoppable force. To cultivate calmness, you must practice it daily. Calmness is not something you find once and keep forever. It is something you must train, just like a muscle. Begin with your breath. The breath is the bridge between your body and your mind. When the world shakes you, return to your breathing. Slow, steady breaths calm the body, and when the body is calm, the mind follows. Practice observing your thoughts without being carried by them. Let them rise and fall like waves on the surface of the ocean, while your awareness rests deep below, unmoved. Train yourself in stillness, in patience, in silence. These practices sharpen your calmness, and calmness sharpens your life. Calmness also requires letting go of what you cannot control. The restless mind wastes energy trying to fight reality, clinging to the past, worrying about the future. The calm mind accepts reality as it is. This does not mean giving up. It means seeing clearly. Acceptance allows you to act from truth instead of illusion. When you let go of what you cannot control, your mind becomes lighter, freer, calmer. And in that calmness lies your greatest strength. Think of history's greatest warriors, leaders, and masters. The ones who achieved true greatness were never those who panicked, shouted, or rushed. They were those who remained calm under pressure, who held their vision steady when others lost theirs, who chose their actions with clarity and discipline. Calmness gave them power, and that power gave them victory. So I tell you this, the calm mind is not optional. It is essential. It is the difference between living as a slave to your emotions and living as a master of your destiny. The calm mind does not mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything and still remain in command. It does not mean you never face storms. It means you stand unshaken in the middle of them. And when you master calmness, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, you carry within you the ultimate weapon, one that no enemy, no challenge, and no chaos can ever defeat. 11. Detachment is power. Owning nothing, losing nothing. One of the most overlooked truths in life is this: the more tightly you cling to things, the more power they have over you. People believe that strength comes from holding on to possessions, to relationships, to status, to reputation, to every little thing that makes them feel secure. But I tell you the opposite. The tighter you cling, the weaker you become, because whatever you cling to begins to own you. Detachment, not obsession, is power. When you are able to let go, when you are able to stand strong without needing to control everything around you, you discover a freedom that makes you untouchable. Think about it. A man who is attached to his pride will react instantly when insulted because his identity depends on the opinion of others. A man who is attached to money will panic at the slightest financial loss because his sense of worth is tied to his possessions. A man who is attached to comfort will avoid all challenges because his security means more to him than growth. But a man who is detached, he is unshaken. Insults cannot wound him because his pride does not depend on approval. Loss cannot break him because his value is not measured in gold. Hardship cannot stop him because he does not cling to ease. This is the strength of detachment. In combat, this principle becomes clear. If a fighter is too attached to victory, he may become desperate. His movements grow tense, his strikes impatient, his mind clouded by the fear of losing. Ironically, it is this attachment to winning that makes defeat more likely. But the fighter who is detached fights with freedom. He does not cling to victory, nor does he fear defeat. He flows with the fight, adapts to every move, and remains calm no matter what happens. This freedom makes him more dangerous because he cannot be controlled by fear or by desire. He is there only to give his best in the moment, and that detachment makes him unstoppable. Detachment is not about apathy. It does not mean you stop caring, stop loving, or stop working hard. It means you give everything your full effort, but you do not let the outcome chain your spirit. You love deeply, but you are not destroyed if love changes. You work hard, but you are not broken if plans fail. You aim for success, but you are not enslaved by fear if setbacks come. Detachment allows you to act with full intensity without being owned by the results. That is true freedom. The world teaches people to cling. Advertisements tell you that you are nothing without possessions. Society tells you that your worth depends on status. People around you tell you to prove yourself, to defend your pride, to cling to reputation. And so most people walk through life like prisoners, chained by their own attachments. Their emotions rise and fall, not because of what they truly are, but because of what they fear losing. One insult, one loss, one failure, and they crumble. They are strong only when life is kind to them. That is not real strength. The man who practices detachment is different. He trains his mind to remember that everything in life is temporary. Money, fame, possessions, even relationships. None of them can be held forever. He enjoys them while they are there, but he does not make them his identity. He loves deeply, but he does not cling because he knows love must be free. He works with discipline, but he does not attach himself to outcomes because he knows results are never fully in his control. His strength comes from knowing that even if everything is stripped away, he will still remain himself, whole and unbroken. That is power. Imagine how differently you would live if you embraced detachment. Insults would lose their power over you. Failures would no longer feel like the end of the world. They would become lessons. Loss would still bring pain, but it would not destroy your spirit. You would stop chasing validation from others because your worth would not be attached to their approval. You would stop fearing change because you would no longer cling to things staying the same. Every chain that once held you down would begin to break, and you would discover what true freedom feels like. Detachment also sharpens clarity. When you are attached, your vision is clouded. A man attached to money sees every situation through greed. A man attached to pride sees every situation through ego. But when you are detached, you see things as they are, not as your attachments want them to be. Your decisions become wiser, your actions cleaner, your judgment clearer. Detachment gives you balance. But do not misunderstand, detachment is not coldness. It does not mean you stop feeling or stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You love more freely when you are detached because love is no longer about possession. You work more passionately when you are detached because effort is no longer poisoned by fear of failure. You live more fully when you are detached, because you are no longer chained to outcomes. Detachment does not steal passion, it purifies it. This is why detachment is one of the highest forms of self-control. It is the discipline of letting go, of refusing to be ruled by your attachments. And once you master it, you realize that nothing outside of you can truly control you. You own nothing, so you lose nothing. Everything you achieve, everything you gain, is a gift, not a chain. And when life takes it away, you remain free because you never allowed it to own you in the first place. So remember this, the world will always try to make you cling, but clinging is weakness, detachment is power, detachment is freedom, and when you practice it, you become unshakable. You walk through life lighter, freer, and stronger than those who carry the heavy weight of attachments. This is how you reach true mastery, not by holding on tightly, but by learning to let go. You have now walked through principles that many ignore their entire lives. You have seen that the enemy is not out there, it is inside. You have seen that fire must be controlled, that reaction is a trap, that silence can cut deeper than words, that energy is a treasure, that the pause gives you freedom, that self-control is the true victory, that emotions can be transformed into strength, that discipline is the path to freedom, that calmness is the ultimate weapon, and that detachment makes you untouchable. These are not just ideas. These are weapons. These are shields. These are tools for life. But none of this matters if you only listen and do not live it. Knowledge without practice is like a sword left in its sheath, beautiful, but useless. You must sharpen these principles through daily action. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Do not wait for tomorrow. The moment you face insult, pause and remember your calm. The moment fear rises, breathe and remember your strength. The moment anger burns, hold it, observe it, and turn it into focus. The moment attachment grips you, remind yourself that nothing outside you defines you. This is the practice, and this is the path. Remember, the world will never stop testing you. People will insult you, fear will visit you, failure will strike you, and change will take away what you cling to. But the one who has mastered himself cannot be defeated. He may bend, but he will not break. He may stumble, but he will not fall apart. He may lose, but he will never be destroyed. Because his victory was never dependent on others. It was born inside himself. That is what I want you to understand. Stop looking for strength outside of yourself. Stop waiting for people to respect you, for circumstances to favor you, for life to hand you peace. All of these things are unstable, temporary, fragile. Look within. Your greatest weapon is your calm mind. Your greatest shield is your self-control. Your greatest freedom is your discipline. Your greatest victory is your ability to master yourself. So I leave you with this. Stop reacting. Start living as a master. Train yourself daily. Discipline your mind. Control your fire. And let go of everything that tries to chain you. If you do this, you will become untouchable. Not because the world has stopped testing you, but because you have stopped being its servant. True power is not in conquering others. True power is conquering yourself. And once you achieve this, you will see clearly you are unstoppable.